Hello, everyone, and welcome to the live stream recording of the Engadget Engadget Podcast. I'm Deputy Editor Sherlyn Lowe. Joining me today are Senior Editor Sam Rutherford as my guest co-host. Sam, how are you?
Hey, how's it going?
And in between us is podcast producer Ben Elman. Hey, Ben.
Hello.
For most of you joining us on YouTube right now, everything should look pretty familiar, but there is something new today that you won't notice unless you are on TikTok. Today we are also co-streaming this live stream over on TikTok, on the Engadget TikTok account. So not only will we be saying, hi to people on the YouTube live chat, we'll also be responding to questions and comments on TikTok. So hey, if you're watching this on TikTok right now, leave us a question or comment throughout the show. But also, because it's your first time, I'm going to break down what's happening here. What's going on is we're recording an episode of the actual Engadget Podcast, the audio-only show that goes out on platforms like SoundCloud, Spotify, etc. So for the most part, we won't really be able to talk directly to our audience. However, there will be times when we flub, make mistakes. It's all live. You'll see us go back and redo lines. We'll also be able to take segment breaks where we can have a more extensive chat with the audience here. So right now on YouTube, we have quite a few people that are usually here. We do this every Thursday morning at about 10 a.m. Eastern. And I just want to say hi to the people who are here. We know their names, at least they're familiar. Denny Vega, Buddy305 Love. We've got Declan Flynn, who was grooving to our, intro music earlier today. We've also got some less familiar names, I think, like Gamer Radar, Sebastian, Drew H. Drew Carmoker is a familiar name. The Rockite Man said that they can't watch the live stream right now and that they'll watch it later. There's also Angel Yacon. Yeah, plenty of people here. Thanks for joining us. Sam, are you on TikTok?
No, not really. I guess we are now just by default. But I think we just hit a milestone, so we're able to actually do live streams on TikTok, which is really cool. I don't know. I appreciate TikTok for what it is as a kind of a Vine replacement, but it's I don't know if maybe I'm too old. I don't know.
I'm like you, where I didn't really join TikTok until I was there to support Engadget, really.
Right.
But I also want to.
I would say you're more TikTok-y than me, whatever that means.
I think you mean as a person. I might be more TikTok friendly, but
Yes.
I will say I'm taking a look also at the chat on TikTok right now. So I want to say hi to Albert Aiden, people who have just joined, Lukey Caps. Don't know who that is, but thanks for tuning in. We're going to do our best to kind of equally address both the YouTube comments and TikTok at the same time. Heads up, I know the title of this show, at least on YouTube, says Elon Musk owns Twitter now. What happens next? Obviously, today on the podcast, we're going to talk a lot about that. But we're also going to talk about some other news the rest of the show. We're going to record this out of order today because we have two guests that will be joining us at about 10:30 a.m. Eastern to really help guide us through this conversation. They're the experts on Twitter, on what's been going on, and we'll introduce them later. For now, I think we're ready to record just some of the other parts of the show, like I said, out of order, and then we can go in on Elon Musk and Twitter later on.
Yeah, just so people are aware, we're going to be getting to Elon Musk and Twitter in about a half hour, give or take. So if that's what you're here for, stick around. We'll get to that at about 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time.
So I'm ready to take the intro. Are you ready, Ben?
Yeah, give me one
Sam?
second.
Yeah.
Sweet. Hi to Perdido, who says Julio sent me. Cool. And Agents PCs. These are people on the TikTok. Hi to Harsha Sankara, Safras Mahmood, Ruin Dig, Peter Lee, Kushal Shingo, all on the YouTube chat as well. All right, we good?
Okay, yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Engadget Podcast. I'm Deputy Editor Sherlyn Lowe, and joining me as guest co-host today is Senior Editor Sam Rutherford. Hey, Sam.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Well, sort of. Well, this week has been kind of a crazy week in tech news.
To say the least, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like things are shifting under us as we speak. Clearly, this week we're going to have to talk about the fact that Elon Musk sort of owns Twitter now. I say sort of because I feel like there's still regulatory approval that's going to happen.
They're still waiting for the, approvals, the deal to close, which probably won't happen until sometime later this year. But yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. We've got a couple of guests coming to join us to talk about this episode. And we're also going to talk about some other stuff like the Android 13 beta that dropped this week, as well as some other Google prototype news. As always, if you're enjoying the show, make sure you subscribe to us on your podcast catcher of choice. Leave us a review, please, on iTunes. And if you have time, you can come join us every Thursday morning at about 10 a.m. Eastern. We're usually live streaming the behind-the-scenes recording of this show on the Engadget YouTube channel. And starting today, also on the Engadget TikTok account. So if that's more your speed, head on over there Thursdays at about 10 a.m. Eastern. All right, so we're going to dive right into other news for those of you watching. This is, again, out of order. All right, Ben, good for me to go?
Yep.
Okay. So this week, on about Tuesday, I want to say, Google also released the Android 13 Beta 1. This is the first, public beta. Before we were in developer previews, and I think we were up to DP developer preview 2 thereabouts. So this is really our first good look at some of the features coming to Android 13. I'm already spending some time testing it out. I can tell you a little bit more about what's new, what to expect. But Sam, does this public beta, at least from what you've heard so far, does it get you excited at all about Android 13?
Not really. I mean, there's
Hold up. Yeah, hold for siren.
Sorry. Oh yeah.
I think
didn't know
gone.
if you could hear that.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. You want to ask me again?
No, just get your answer again.
Oh,
are you excited? Yeah.
I mean, not really. I mean, I feel like Android is a very mature operating system like Windows or Mac OS or iOS. And so there's not as much big issues that Google has left to address. And I've been playing around with it for, about a day. And, I haven't really noticed that many changes. But tell me, what do you think, Shilin? Are there any features that this is, I've been waiting for this for so long. I haven't really gotten that impression.
I have not. I will say though, there's surprisingly there were more new tools in this beta than I had expected. I got the sense that this wasn't the most user-facing beta. This was really for developers that might not be yet in the developer program for some reason, or don't want to flash an image to their phones, to start really getting their apps and their stuff compatible with this version of Android, because I think Google really should get a head start on some of the new features, and this is one way to do it. I will say there are some new tools, and shout out to our peers, I guess, at Android Police, who've been eagle-eyed and digging through all of the beta stuff. So there's a new QR scanner. I don't know if you've seen that, Sam. It might be easy to miss. There's a QR code scanner embedded inside the quick settings panel now. You have to go all the way into the other options and look for it. So right now, the way QR scanning works for, I think, most people, you
just open up the camera app and point your camera, which, kind of to your point, it's okay, I like that there's a QR setting that's not in the camera, but it's easier and faster for me to pull up the camera app. So
yeah. So look, QR codes are even more prevalent now thanks to the pandemic than they were before. Everyone's using it for contactless menus, right? But and yes, I agree that it's faster to just open your camera. But the way QR code scanning works in the camera app right now, it's you open the viewfinder, it's a live version of the QR code. You kind of hover, and then when you sort of lock on to the QR code, this tiny little URL bar shows up, and you have to keep your phone still sort of around the QR code and not have it move too much, and then
you make it sound like you're juggling things. It's it's not that difficult.
I'm a clumsy, uncoordinated person.
Okay.
This is what is good. I drop my phone a lot. But this new QR code scanner, I mean, once you set it up to be a shortcut in your quick settings panel, it's pretty easy to access. The second you tap it, it launches quick. It grabs onto a QR code, basically immediately. It's very fast. And then it stops being a viewfinder. It becomes an image of the QR code. So you no longer have to keep aiming. And then the target button for you to launch the website is much bigger. It's just like a better interface for QR code scanning. However, like we say, like, how much of an impact will this make on your life? How many QR codes are people scanning a day that this is going to make that much of a difference? I don't know.
Right. Well, and I think the other thing is that like people have like Google has sort of already trained people to open up the camera app to find QR codes.
Right.
And so it's like it really depends on the user to like how knowledgeable are they going to be about Android 13 in that like they even are aware that there's a new QR code feature, which, you know, that I think like, and this is kind of like a symptom of like the tech world in general, is that there are so many new features constantly being added to the products that you already own that like you have to actively like seek out these features, or else you're like, you know, you might not use them at all, which is not a bad thing, but it's like, you know, it puts some of the burden on, you know, the owner to be like, oh, there's a new software update. Let me find out what's going on. And I, you know, like maybe it makes us feel more important because like we get to talk about it, but like,
it's very much like a power user thing, right? Like I think power users are going to be the ones, or the very big fans of tech and Android are going to be the ones reading this sort of stuff, and then they'll go around to like, if parties happen again, they'll be like, oh yeah, did you know you could do this with your Android phone? Hey, and then like it's like you said, bragging rights almost.
Yeah. I think for me, I think my favorite new feature is the ability to control your smart home devices from the lock screen. Because I love smart lights. You know, my house is filled with smart lights. And so being able to, you know, say you don't want to use voice controls, like, you know, someone's watching a movie and you don't want to like, you know, mess up their time, but you do want to adjust the lighting, you know, it's easier. You don't have to unlock your phone. You can just do it right from the lock screen menu. And I think that's probably for me, the biggest user facing change. Because like you said, there are a lot of like developer oriented changes that you might not notice if you were just going to load up the beta on your phone. You won't see these features just going around every day.
The smart home controls thing, I think the big change too is that like, because on Android 12, I also have access to it from the home screen. It's from the lock screen. It's more that like now you supposedly don't have to sign in first to access your smart home controls.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's definitely like less of a step. The other thing that I personally quite like, but I don't know that it is, again, such a game-changing difference, is the media playback box. Now it just looks a lot different. It presents info in a more aesthetic way. You've got also more options. You've got the progress bar now that allows you to drag and you know, what's the word when you're skipping along a track but you're not thank you, scrub the timeline sort of the media, and it squiggles, you know, there's a little animation that it's like waving along with the tune. So that's kind of nice. It looks nicer, and you've got a few more functions. So I actually kind of like it. But this is, I think, barely scratching the surface of what we're going to see in actual Android 13. So for now, I mean, I always have to warn people, if you want to download and install beta software, you better be the sort of person that has a spare phone, because this is not going to be very stable. I haven't encountered any real issues, but I've read about a lot of people for whom this beta has been like just not working, killing their apps.
And we're not expecting, you know, a full official release until the fall. So it's, you know, we're looking at, you know, 4 or 5 months of, you know, tuning, and, you know, there's going to be more updates. So once again, this is not the final build of Android, you know, just kind of getting a preview of it for, you know, now that the public beta is available.
And also interesting timing, because what is it, like in 2 weeks, we'll get Google I/O, where we're expecting to hear more about Android 13 at the very least, like big things coming to Android 13. But hey, segue alert, we're also potentially going to see Google's long-awaited, long-heralded Pixel Watch. We've heard about this, God, like years and years now, Sam. I feel like when I was at my last job, I heard about a Pixel Watch.
This has been the most long-awaited thing. So it's nice to like finally see some signs that it's like, it might actually arrive, and maybe it won't be too far from now, hopefully.
The rumor mill is kind of conflicted on the timing. Some people are thinking it's going to be at I/O. Some people are thinking no, maybe they're going to save it for later in the year, so fall event. Here's what has happened though, right? We've seen that Google has trademarked the name Pixel Watch fairly recently, and also someone, as if it's 2008 or something, left a prototype of the Google Pixel Watch at a restaurant.
Yep.
And a bartender picked it up or something, held on to it for something like 4 weeks, and then, hit up Android police authority, an Android blog, and was like, here you go, we have pictures of this thing, we found it. So that's another indication that this is real and coming. We just don't exactly know officially when yet. Sam, does this make you laugh? I just feel like
I mean, okay, so as a former Gizmodo employee who got in big trouble back in the day for someone found an iPhone 4 at a bar, and the EIC of Gizmodo bought it and then tried to just, ran some stories about it, and then tried to bargain with Steve Jobs about, Steve Jobs obviously very wanted it back, and Gizmodo didn't really want to give it back, and then they eventually did. But it was a whole saga. I mean, I don't think, whoever found it this time tried to barter with Sundar Pichai for return of the Pixel Watch. But it's just silly how all these companies talk so much about security, but if someone's out testing a device and they just forget it, now it's just in the wild.
I have two stories to add. One is that, in direct response to that, Sam, I can't say how I know this, but I feel like a lot of people at Google are allowed to test these things out and then just kind of walk around with them, right? So that security question is who are they trusting to have one of these for testing? And then how stringent are they being with measures? I know when I used to test something like Fitbit devices before embargo, Fitbit would even supply me with a little wrist
case,
strap,
right,
so
to disguise the upcoming device. I mean, it's always hard, right? Because at some point you do have to take these things out, because a smartwatch, you got to test battery life. So you have to wear it for more than you're at the office, or you want to test sleep tracking features or activity features. These are things that you kind of need to bring them outside of, the Google campus to really get a sense of. And so, usually like you said, we don't really start to hear about these things until it gets closer to release. So that, is kind of a good sign that maybe we'll see it at IO, but at least definitely something this year.
Right. It's definitely branched outside of the upper echelon, that maybe Sundar was the first one to test it. And then now they're seeding it to less senior, employees to be able to do that. Now I'm getting a quick notice from our live stream person to figure out the sync issue going on now. So let's do that right now. We have a bit of a pause. Julio, do you need some time? Okay, so we're going to finish up this segment and then we'll address the sync issue. If you're noticing a sync issue, let us know. Okay. My last thing about this is just, you're right, Sam, when you brought up that Gizmodo story. At Engadget, I think it was the Pixel 5 or something, where we came across a seller in Hong Kong that had received units early and was just selling them before the fall event, just here you go, have at it. And I don't know, so we didn't end up actually paying for this unit. We didn't buy it. We had our reporter who's based in Hong Kong went and shot video of it and took photos and did a sort of hands-on. So there's a lot of points of failure for things like this to happen. And I guess we might see the Pixel Watch at I/O soon. Now, for the last thing, I think in our other news segment, second last thing, I saw a Fitcher smart workout mirror last week, and the article actually published this week on Tuesday, I believe. Basically, it's a smart workout mirror. It's a 43-inch screen embedded into a long looking glass, and you can look at yourself while you work out, but also it will use a camera that's embedded in sort of the bottom half of the screen to count your reps, monitor your form, that sort of thing. So I mean, I've become sort of a fitness enthusiast.
Is your technique getting better? Are you
God, my form
is your form
so on point?
Okay. Are you doing the 1, 2, 3, 4 negative, making sure to do the full positive and negative range of motion?
I mean, I try to. So I used to do a lot of this on my own. I spent like the whole of last year really doing this on my own. And then now I've just joined a new gym thing. It's like, I'll talk about it another time, but the trainers there are very much like, these are the sets that you have to do, and they involve the full range of motion, and there's a lot going on. But I feel like if you have time, go check out the video on Engadget's YouTube, and you can tell me if my form is good or not. How are my guns? Well, not actual guns, but how are my bis and tris and delts? I think they're pretty okay. And then for the last thing in the other news section this week, Sam.
Yes.
I have a surprise question for you.
I saw that. Now I'm worried.
Sam, tell me how you feel about Motorola's endless rehash of phones.
Right. Okay. So, yes. So last week, I published an op-ed talking about how I just feel like Motorola needs to slow down. They're just releasing too many phones. And the thing about it is that, like, releasing a lot of phones is one thing if they're all very different, but a lot of Motorola's recent releases are incredibly similar. I noted that in the piece that, like, Moto, they came out with a Moto 5, a Moto G, a new Moto G, and then they came out with a Moto G 5G, which is like pretty close to, not exactly the same phone, slightly different, but it's like they come out with one phone without 5G, and just so they can release another one that's very similar with 5G like 4 or 5 months later. And then just recently they released the second Moto Stylus 5G in like less than 6 months. And it's just like, and to me, the big problem is like, Motorola is the third biggest smartphone maker in the US. And so like even more than Google. And so like I feel like they really need to focus on just really building a quality product. And I think part of it is, if you look at like LG exiting the cell phone business, I think Motorola was able to scoop up a lot of that market share. And they're like, oh, let's just flood the market and like let's try to get as many short-term sales as possible. And that's nice from like a business perspective, but like I think it really stands the chance of rubbing the consumer raw. And it's like they feel just like they've been inundated with too many things. And then on top of that, I'm really concerned about Motorola's like software support, because as a company policy, Motorola is only doing one major Android update for the G series. Ooh. And maybe you get 2 years of security updates, sometimes not even that. And even on the flagship, like the Moto Edge Plus that I reviewed recently, you're getting 2 years of software updates, which is like not even close to the 3 years that Google is doing for the Pixel 5 series, or the 4 years that Samsung is doing for their phones, or Apple, which is like, has long been the best in the game when it comes to supporting old devices.
Right. I think not only is this kind of like confusing for the user, it feels to me anyway like it's incredibly wasteful. The idea of like update cycles being shorter, I think, was something that when OnePlus started doing the T version of their flagships, they were like, oh yeah, why can't we be quicker and stuff. I was just like, well, isn't it kind of wasteful? Like, is the idea that someone needs to update their phone every 6 months? I don't think that's necessarily the idea. But if you put out a better phone just 6 months after you just release your like so-called best phone of the year, there are people that are out there that's going to be like, oh, maybe that's the phone I want now, and they're going to consider upgrading. And then you also like we were talking about the confusion, you're introducing a lot of like uncertainty around when someone should make that purchasing decision. Like, when should they go to their local carrier and be like, I want the next Motorola phone. Not that I think anyone really out there is clamoring for Motorola.
I mean, but like, and then to your point, it's like some of the phones, the Moto phones that people are like the most interesting Moto phones, like the foldable Razr, that hasn't been updated in a while. Meanwhile, Samsung is like, they're not flooding the market at all, but like they're coming out with regular updates that have noticeable improvements. And so it's like, it's weird to see Moto flood the market on the low end, and then on the high end, like the Moto Edge Plus, I still maintain that it's wildly overpriced. And then we haven't gotten like a real update to the Razr in a year and a half, and it's like, what's going on?
We've got people in the YouTube live chat here, like Danny Leong, who like say that Moto's releases are confusing. We've got Bryant Mitchell asking a very good, important question: why does the Moto Stylus even exist?
I mean, I'm not upset at the Moto Stylus existing, because I think it's nice to have, a phone that has stylus support that's not made by Samsung. That's fine. But like, like in the other, but you have to add features. You can't just be like, let's add 5G. And by the way, not millimeter wave 5G, just sub-6 5G, and then slap a 5G tag on it and call it a day. And it's like that, it's really frustrating. And then, there are even smaller issues like the most recent Moto G 5G, which is incredibly annoying to say, doesn't have an NFC chip on it. So if you want to use stuff like Google Pay, you just can't. And then if you move up slightly, pay a little bit more for the Moto G Stylus 5G, that one does have NFC, but it's like, why? NFC should be a basic feature on every phone. Like that's kind of non-negotiable at this point, as far as I'm concerned.
Any sort of contactless payment method, I think, needs to be like basically expected, if not mandatory at this point. Quick shout out then to also like dude named Charlie, who was saying that the Motorola phone names themselves are confusing, and you're exactly right when you said Moto G 5G. What is that, like a TikTok dance of a name? It's like different steps to like a thing. I don't even Moto. We rant about companies a bunch, right? We talked about how Samsung has made too many phones, and I think they've taken heed. You had a really good op-ed about OnePlus fairly recently, where they're just not the company that people might have loved from the start anymore. And now we've got Moto. I think we're seeing a trend in Android phone makers not really understanding what to do moving forward, and trying to, in such a mature market, still trying to do things differently. And then we've got poor sad stories like poor LG saying goodbye. It's a really interesting time.
People are holding on to their phones longer than they have before. Gosh, so it's like even more important to like not kind of try to like piecemeal your consumers. You want everyone to, like, when they get a new device, they want to feel like, they got their money's worth. And when, there's a new phone coming out every 3 months, you don't really get that same sensation.
Exactly. Well, we'll keep an eye out on, obviously, the Android market. I'm sure we'll see more rants coming from you, Sam. I love when you go on a phone company rant, and it's one of the best things ever. But yeah, no, if you're out there rocking a Moto phone and you're like a big fan of Motorola, hey, send us an email at podcast@engadget.com with your thoughts. I'd love to hear why, actually. All right, we're going to take a break now.
And yes, immaculate segment.
I try.
Very good.
They should give me awards for my hosting. I'm kidding. I'm gonna make myself an award or something. I'm just gonna go to my.
I think it's called a Webby.
Well, yeah, sure.
We gotta get on that. Gotta get on that level.
Yeah, I'm never gonna be at that level, I don't think. Well, maybe we can dream. I'm just gonna go to Photoshop, mock up one. Anyway, we got a lot of good questions. We've got Jonathan Anderson going, I feel like the 5G wave is overrated. Who uses it IRL? I will say, if millimeter wave 5G, which is currently only really supported by Verizon, if that were everywhere and easily accessible, I would use it all the time. The actual speed bumps are so much higher than sub-6, although I think mid-band might be a good like in between. But Sam, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, to Jonathan's point, I think he makes a decent like observation that 5G millimeter wave 5G is not available to everybody. It's still, you got to be in a big city. You have to be within line of sight of a tower.
Yep.
And so it's a lot more spotty than, the C band or sub 6 gigahertz. But it's still an important part of the overall 5G picture. And it's going to be more important going forward, especially as, Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile continue to build out millimeter wave support. And then, when you do get it, it's actually really nice because, like, say I want to download like a video before I get on the subway, it takes like a second or two to like, and then I'm all set. I have something to watch while I'm on the train, like commuting, whatever. And so, and or in our situations, like if you're at like a ball game, like a stadium or a concert where there's incredible amounts of people and there's like, the airwaves are really saturated, millimeter wave does make a difference. So it's like, you might not use it every day, but there are some situations where it's like, oh man, this would just be really nice to have. And but like importantly for the consumer, it's like, you don't want them to have to be like, it's not something they should have to think about. It's like they should have 5G or they should choose not to have it, but they shouldn't have to be like, oh, I have this 5G and that 5G, but not that one. It's like, it just
so dumb. It's so confusing, so dumb. I get annoyed by it. I want to, say hi to our viewers on TikTok. A reminder that this is a live stream of the recording of the Engadget podcast. So we're currently in a segment break where we're addressing Q&A live from both TikTok and YouTube. So if you have anything you want to ask us and we can answer right now, leave a comment on the YouTube stream. I see that some of our YouTube viewers are also double watching on TikTok and on YouTube. That's amazing. Thank you, Ruindig. So yeah, we're trying something new. We are trying to test out different platforms and see what works for everyone. Leave us your thoughts. Let us know what we can do better. I saw also a comment that someone lived, I think Chris Angelo Perez lived for your rant, Sam. I thought that was great. Love it. Go off.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you got to get spicy. I don't know. But I think, like part of our job is to like, notice trends and notice company trends, because a lot of like, I don't expect people to stay on top of, Moto's release cycle, especially when they're doing as many phones as they are. And it's like, I think every now and then it's kind of important to like stop, take a break, and kind of evaluate like, a company's recent performance, and then especially how that aligns with, what their, kind of stated goals are.
Danny Leong has a good point that I want to get to, but we are noticing a sync issue, so we're going to take a quick 2-minute break. For Julio, let me know if this is a good time for you to do your sync and what you need us to do. Okay, so we're going to take a 2-minute break. You're going to see us dip for a little bit, but we'll be right back, so please hang around. Hello, everyone. Thanks for your patience while we sorted out some issues. But hey, we've got a new people joining us now that we're back. We just went out, we came back, we got a bigger burger here on this stream. We've got Dan Howley, who's the tech editor at Yahoo Finance. Hey, Dan. Dan's a former coworker of mine and Sam's, but we won't get too much into our shenanigans today. And then we've got Carissa, our resident Twitter expert, who's been, God, I feel so bad for you, Carissa, for the last few weeks, but both of them are here to break down the Twitter news for us this week. But I know we have something to do that's a little bit of the behind the scenes work. So Ben, do you want to get everyone started?
Okay, yeah. So I think Dan and Carissa are recording already. If that's the case, that's great. If you aren't, now's the time. And so now we're going to resync. We've got 2 new people, so we need to resync all the files. And so chat, you can sync along with us. I'm going to count down from 3. At the end of 3, all of us are going to clap. That's Sherlyn, that's Sam, that's Dan, and that's Carissa. And you can clap too if you believe. So 3, 2, 1. Okay, and then let's do a little bit of silence. That helps me with editing. I'll let you know when silence is over. Okay, silence is over. Let's talk about this crazy deal.
All right, so I will take it in by introducing you guys, Dan and Carissa. And then we'll move on. All right. Now, just as a quick reminder for anyone viewing on TikTok, we are recording the Engadget Podcast, and we won't be able to answer your comments or questions live on air, but then we'll get a segment break and we'll be able to talk then. All right. So this week's been kind of crazy if you follow either Twitter or Elon Musk, and basically Twitter accepted Elon Musk's offer to buy it for about $44 billion. Here to break the news down with and for us are Engadget's own senior editor, Carissa Bell. Hey, Carissa.
Hello.
Hey, and we also have a special guest, tech editor at Yahoo Finance, Dan Howley. Hey, Dan, how's it going?
Hey, what's happening?
All right, so I'm going to start off by asking Carissa to kind of just guide us to this point. Like, how did we get here?
I think we're all wondering that to some extent. If you remember, Elon Musk had made this offer that sounded very outlandish. A few weeks ago, that he wanted to buy Twitter for $54.20 a share. Before that, he had been acquiring shares and became one of the largest stakeholders of the company. So the board had said they were considering his offer, and then this week they said that they were accepting it and that they were going private.
So they're going private, and I think there's a lot of question about where Elon Musk is getting this money. Right, $44 billion is no chump change for anyone. I think there were like some rumblings of where he might be getting that money. Carissa, do you know?
Yeah, I mean, he used his Tesla stock, and then he got 2 different kinds of financing from a couple different banks that put up a majority of the money.
Dan, do you know what the risk is associated with something like this for Tesla to be for Elon to be doing this sort of share backed loan?
Yeah, I mean, look, if I think the overall is that if Tesla shares do fall past a certain amount, he's not going to be able to finance it the way that he wants to. And so that would just throw this entire thing out the window. And, Tesla shares have been sliding as a result of this, as a result of innumerable factors, right? Just because it's the stock market. You can't really point to one thing, but the overarching message seems to be that, he only has so much time. He's only one person, and he's got Tesla, SpaceX, the Boring Company, Neuralink, and now this. And he seems to spend a lot of time tweeting like he's been doing regularly. So I think people are nervous about whether or not he'll be able to keep up the promises that Tesla has made, namely ramping up their production rate. I think it's 500,000 vehicles a year. And, I mean, they're going to be kind of on their back feet just because of this. And I think that's where a lot of the fear comes from. And that's why we're starting to see that stock slide.
I mean, look, Carissa, Carissa recently wrote for us a piece about how Elon Musk's bid for Twitter is as well thought out as his tweets. I just thought that was amazing as a headline. I don't know if you saw that, Dan, but do you agree? Like, this didn't seem like he really spent that much time thinking.
Yeah, that's an incredible headline, by the way. I mean, look, he does tweet. He did a TED Talk, I think, last Friday or the Friday prior, basically saying that he tweets from the toilet, like, just
cool. Me too, but
yeah. So, but you have to think, like, this man is the richest person on earth. He's in this like back and forth argument with the other richest person on earth, Jeff Bezos, about who's able to put a lander on the moon, and there's lawsuits going on there, or there were lawsuits going on over there. It just feels like he took this idea about trying to take over Twitter, and just didn't really put too much thought behind how he's going to monetize it further, how he's going to grow its user base. I mean, his whole thing seems to be, he doesn't like the fact that people can tell him what he can and can't say on a platform. And he had like this, argument, I guess, with Twitter, I guess, at large. And so now he just said, well, I'm not going to take my ball and go home. I'm just going to buy the whole basketball court, and you guys are going to have to play by my rules now. So, it really does feel like that's just where this came from. He said he's said it's not about the revenue. That's crazy. I mean, this is a company that's supposed to be worth billions. The stock was trading at much higher than $54.20 a share last year. And, he's buying it at what is more or less a discount from what it was in 2021. So, it really is, it doesn't feel like he's put too much thought into this. And, there's rumblings that it may not even go through at all.
I mean, I want to get to that in a little bit. And I also have something to ask Carissa after this. But Sam, I saw you had like kind of a reaction. I don't know if you wanted to say something.
I mean, like you said, like Elon says, like, it's not about the money. And I actually kind of believe him, because like, you're right. Like, this is like, he has like picking this weird, like, fight in principle against like what he thinks censorship should be on the internet. And he's like, well, I'm gonna buy Twitter, and I'm gonna show you how free speech should be instituted online. And that's like a really like wild thing to say, because it's like, he's gonna, I'm assuming he's gonna change like the way Twitter works on censorship, because like there was those Twitter removed some links to some posts last year, and like then they had to kind of backtrack, and it's all very nebulous. And then there's some other like more far out things. It's like he wants to authenticate all humans as part of Twitter. Like, what does that mean? And like,
give everyone a blue check mark. That's what he means,
right? And I think there's like, he in his head, he kind of thinks that like there's something about the ability for people to be anonymous on Twitter that like, anonymous bots are like really a big issue. And, there's, he wants to, increase, accountability, which is like, but, even people say a lot of crazy stuff on Twitter now, and there's no accountability. So I don't know how he's going to fix that issue. So I don't know. It all seems very strange to me. And then just even going back a little bit, like Elon is putting apparently $21 billion of his own cash on the line, on top of the other financing and the other debt arrangements, which is like, okay, it must be fun to have that much play money to just like throw around like that. But it's like, and at some point, like the numbers and the size of these deals, it's just like, it's just hard to think about.
Yeah, you were.
I want to point out the free speech aspect, and it's interesting because it's something, just from covering Section 230 and talking to free speech experts, it's interesting that there's this discussion on censorship, which is really, it's the negative way to refer to content moderation. which is what it really is. Because
right, I think he just had a tweet the other day talking about how Truth Social, which is Trump's like social media thing, wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Twitter's moderation policies, which is like an incredibly wild thing to say. And it's like that, I'm not sure makes a lot of sense, but I mean, yeah, go ahead, Dan.
Well, the big thing is, if he was truly a free speech advocate, then he would be in favor of what Twitter's doing, because Twitter is using its own form of free speech to allow what it wants on its site. And that's completely within the bounds of the law. And, Section 230, the big boogeyman, I guess, whether it can be reformed or not, or needs reform or not is for another discussion. But under that, it isn't a law that protects, companies. It protects companies from frivolous lawsuits that would be thrown out because of the First Amendment to begin with. Right. So it's doing exactly what it's meant to do. Twitter is doing exactly what it should do as a company that wants to use its free speech rights. He just doesn't agree with their version of free speech. And, I think that's something that is part of a larger discussion and points to kind of this idea that he doesn't really know what he's going to do with this or why, because he's fighting free speech. He's fighting against free speech for free speech.
He's using money to change free speech, which is like, yeah.
Very weird. But I want to get back to Carissa for a second, because look, you also wrote a piece called "No One Knows What the Heck is Going to Happen After Elon Buys Twitter." And that's exactly what Dan is saying. Like, he doesn't seem to even know. But you also recently, maybe not this week, but last, wrote about Jack Dorsey's feelings on this issue. Can you tell us what Jack Dorsey said?
Yeah, I think that was kind of a surprise to some people, maybe, is that Jack Dorsey came out and was like very emphatic that he thought that Elon Musk buying Twitter was not only really good, but like, he said that he was going to be able to fix a lot of fundamental things that he didn't like. He said that Elon is the singular solution I trust to lead Twitter.
That is a quote.
Yeah, Jack has done this thing lately where now that he's stepped back as CEO, and he's gone, full on his crypto and Web3 stuff. He's talked a lot about how he kind of regrets the role that he played in like centralizing these social platforms. Right. And in these tweets, he said that he thought, that Twitter shouldn't really be owned by anyone, and it, but because it's, that Elon's going to like kind of save it from this like Wall Street ad model where they're just sort of like tied to metrics, and that, he would help spread the global light of consciousness, and all these very kind of like characteristically like Jack Dorsey things to say.
Yeah.
But, it was kind of the first time that we've really heard much from him in terms of like his kind of thoughts on this. And then, of course, Elon turned around and started assaulting a lot of Twitter employees. So, I'm not sure how Dorsey's feeling now.
So I know. Yeah, go on, Gan.
I just want to say it's interesting that every time someone who worked at Facebook or Twitter or any social media site, once they've made their billions or millions and billions of dollars, and they can remove themselves from it, then they're apologetic. I feel bad that I did this, but I'll gladly take my millions and billions of dollars. Yeah. So I never buy that when they're like, it shouldn't be owned by someone. Dude, you built this. You're the one who got rich off of it.
Yeah.
Well, where was the outrage then?
And speaking of riches too, right? Like Sam was, I think, sort of getting at this point, which is that the idea of taking something private, taking a business private to enforce free speech, and then the fact that no one but billionaires could be the ones with the power and resource to do something like this, to be so fed up with the platform that you're like, screw it, I'm just gonna buy this thing and do it the way I want. That's entitlement on a level that I can't even begin to think about. Are these people out of touch to the point where can they even understand what the average Joe user on Twitter wants to use? I mean, Carissa, I know that there's Twitter's earnings coming up later today as of this recording of the podcast. Do we expect any appearances, any statements, any controversy lined up?
I mean, probably not would be my guess. They canceled their call. Everything that we've heard of like what's going on inside of Twitter right now, obviously there's, people are very apprehensive about what's going on, but there was an all hands meeting this week, and Twitter CEO got up and, you know, basically, Parag had to tell all the employees that, you know, we don't really know what's going on. The deal is expected to close, I think, in October. And, you know, after that, it's kind of whatever Elon wants. You know, they're like, we don't know what's going to go on with the platform. We're hoping that, you know, he might tell us, I guess. But so I think that there's just like a lot of uncertainty. You know, I think that there's some, you know, if you work at Twitter, you're probably very concerned about what happens to your, you know, your stock that you're granted, which is like a big part of how you're paid. You know, if you work at one of these companies, and then there's, you know, these big existential questions of like how is he gonna like just get rid of all the content moderation rules? Is it something else? I mean, we just have no way of knowing, and you know, a lot of people are speculating based on like things that Elon is saying, but until we actually see something more concrete, it's just really hard to know. Like I think I've told you before, I don't like trying to predict what Elon Musk is going to do.
No, there's no one's going to be able to do that, except even Elon Musk himself might not be able to predict what Elon Musk is going to do. I feel like is the sense we're getting. We also know that the EU, their internal market commissioner, has said publicly in an interview with the Financial Times that Elon Musk's Twitter will still be subject to EU regulations, and there are rules to follow, including just how they will moderate their content too, right? And we know that the EU has led the way in a lot of these things that protect like data privacy for consumers in general, and they have been effective in like widespread across the world and how websites actually, you know, talk about the cookies they use on their website, how they're tracking your data. But beyond that, I don't know that we've really seen a lot about what to expect next. I don't think anyone has a good sense. In fact, what are you guys, Dan and Carissa, I'll start with Dan. What do you think is going to happen next? Like where we are right now is we're waiting for what, SEC regulatory approval?
Yeah,
is that right?
So we're still waiting for regulatory approval and shareholder approval. You know, that would be, you know, the end of it at that point. But, you know, to your point about regulation and the EU, we've seen politicians come out here in the US already say it doesn't matter who owns it, it's still a massive network that still needs to follow certain guidelines. So, you know, I mean, Twitter has always been kind of had this outsized impact on the society and like the discourse. It's got 200 million plus. I forget what its most recent numbers were. Users, was it 229 million users as of its latest quarter. That's nothing compared to TikTok. That's nothing compared to Facebook itself, let alone Facebook's family of apps. I don't know what Pinterest is or Snap as far as their
Dan, that's a great point. I was actually like just kind of jumping in on what you were saying, because I was like, it seems like Twitter has like an outsized influence on social media. And so just to kind of add your numbers, Pinterest, according to Statista, has 444 million monthly active users, which is more than Twitter. TikTok is about 1 billion, so way more than Twitter. Instagram is 1.5 billion, and Facebook is 2.9 billion. And it's like, and so everyone's like, I think part of it is because Twitter has like this air of credibility, which is kind of weird to say, but at least compared to like, you know, Facebook or Instagram, because it's like if some breaking news happens, you know, we like Engadget or CNN or New York Times, they're going to post that first on Twitter. They're not going to go to Instagram first and talk about, the, you know, war in Ukraine has changed, you know, they're not going to use that Instagram for that. And so that's why, like, you know, people care so much about Twitter, even though it's not as popular as a lot of the other social media platforms.
Yeah, it's bizarre. It's, you know, I think it has to do with less on how many people there are and more about who is on there, right? You know, you have these names, obviously Trump made it his de facto press secretary. We've seen, you know, Elon Musk, this is essentially his PR arm. Tesla doesn't have any PR really to speak of. They never did advertising. It's all word of mouth. So that's basically what he's done with this. Same thing with SpaceX and the Boring Company. You know, I think that we see all of these, you know, obviously journalists like ourselves are on it. So it kind of gets, I think more of a boost than it does because of that than it would for the average person. And I think the other thing is when you use something like Twitter, outside of, again, journalists or we're watching it for breaking news all the time. In my spare time, I look at Twitter maybe once, but I'm on Instagram or TikTok for a long time, just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. So it's, like user engagement is way lower, I think, than on something like a TikTok or an Instagram or, Facebook. It just has this wild outsized impact compared to its actual size.
I think that was like a question I was going to get to too, which is that like, I think we're in a small circle where we're media people, we're tech people, we're definitely going to be more on Twitter than, let's say, the average person on the internet, right? Most people, like you guys said, are on Instagram, Facebook more. But then I've also seen over the week since the announcement that Twitter was going to accept that bid, everyone's been like, oh no, I'm going to bounce, bye Twitter, I'm out. Or people have been complaining about losing followers because I guess the bots are just dying, or people have been actually deactivating their accounts. And so there's that sort of sentiment going on here. Carissa, you also wrote about an open source alternative that's supposedly gaining in popularity since. Do you think that this will actually become a more mainstream option for people?
No.
Yes, but also
short answer, no.
Long answer, long answer. Are there other alternatives people might consider too?
Yeah, I mean, I think we are seeing this happens anytime Twitter does something that's controversial, right? It's happened when there's, they change the character limit or they come out with some new feature, then people get mad and then they're like, I'm going to Mastodon or I'm going to, one of these other services. Like, I think, the Mastodon is interesting because they are open source. They're doing a lot of things that Jack Dorsey and Twitter has said that they would like to pursue, where they're like this protocol and you can have different instances and you can take your followers with you. And so I think that's interesting just from that perspective. I think it's also just a really niche platform that's not necessarily that easy to use. So I don't think this is going to be what makes Mastodon the next big thing. But I think the broader point that it does when people get unsettled, a lot of people, they start looking at other platforms. We've also seen on the other side of it, Truth Social, Trump's social media app has been doing well, very, very well. I think that was the top social media app. And it just kind of, and then within Twitter itself, there's been a lot of reporting that sort of these more mainstream or left-leaning accounts, I guess, have lost a lot of followers, while these sort of characters on the right, the Trump Jr. or Ben Shapiro or some of these guys have gained a lot of followers. And I guess Twitter said that they think it's sort of organic, people are deactivating and people are joining. I think it's probably a little bit harder to understand, when follower counts change for a lot of different reasons. True. But it is interesting, and there is some people who are worried maybe there's going to be this influx of people who I guess maybe sympathize more with the far right, and how that could affect the platform. So it's interesting. And Elon has said that he just wants to piss off the far left and the far right equally.
I mean, okay, good for him. I guess my last question, because we're kind of out of time, is for everyone, starting with Carissa. So are you going to quit Twitter?
I wish I could. But I'm unfortunately, we will see. We'll see what happens. If it becomes, a truly toxic dumpster fire, maybe I would, but I'm unfortunately very attached to my Twitter account.
How about you, Dan?
I'm in the same boat. I wish I could just leave it, just get just abandon ship entirely. I want to get rid of all social media for myself. I despise it. It's just a time sink. But I need it for work. I need to know what's going on. I have TweetDeck up right now, right?
How dare you? How dare you not give us your full attention?
I'm not looking at it. It's over here.
Okay.
But I need that. I need to know what's going on with Instagram, if, there's any major updates to it. So I have to be on these platforms, but I don't want to be. I don't want to feel whenever I have a free second, walking down the street, that I have to pull out my phone and look at I don't know, some dumb video of someone falling down, or, you know, a golden retriever playing with ducks, you know.
That's
very
cute.
cute. It's very cute, but it's just such a time sink. And I mean, Twitter in particular is such just, I mean, it just feels like a wasteland. So if I could ditch it, I absolutely would.
Sam, I know you're not on Facebook. Would you?
I mean, so I'm not going to quit Twitter, but I think it's because I don't. I just don't not doom scrolling as much as like everyone else is. And so like I tweet maybe like once or twice a week, and I don't know if it's like just my personality or just like whatever it is. It's like I feel like I'm kind of immune to like social media, and so like I have an Instagram account. I haven't posted in a year, maybe 2 years, and it's like, and so like it basically, you know, to what Carissa and Dan were saying, it's like I still use Twitter, and mostly it's because I'm following people that like I need to pay attention to or need to cover, or companies are announcing things. And so that's always going to be important. And maybe, you know, in 5-6 years, there will be a new competitor, but like, you know, because I don't feel like that addiction to social media, it's not something I feel like I need to quit at the same time.
I mean, these are all good points, and it's clear that we are not going to know a lot about what's going to happen with Twitter until at least after an SEC regulatory approval on the buy, and then if Elon ever comes out and says things. So for now, I guess we're just continuing to keep an eye and maybe hold on to our Twitter accounts for a little bit longer. But anyway, I want to thank you guys, Carissa and Dan, for joining us today to go over all of this as it happens. Dan, thanks for joining us from Yahoo Finance. Where can people find you online?
You can find me at Daniel Howley on Twitter.
Yeah, that sign off has a whole new meaning now, doesn't it?
No.
And then on Yahoo Finance, I'm usually posting regularly.
Gotcha. And Carissa, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter as well, Carissa B. Maybe soon on Mastodon. Who knows?
I would love to check out Mastodon after this. Well, thank you both for joining us today, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, I know we're a little bit over time. We had a bit of that sync issue, but if Dan and Carissa, if you have to run, I think you can go ahead. If you don't, and you want to stick around and do a little bit of Q&A with our audience, we would love to have you.
I have to jump today, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But,
okay. Yeah. Thanks.
I gotta roll as well. I'm sorry, guys.
Okay.
Yeah,
well, thanks so much.
Oh, worries. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, we can do a
This is
little bit of
last.
Q&A on our end, and then we can get in and just finish the rest of the episode.
All right. So, any instructions for Dan and Carissa, Ben, before they leave?
Carissa can just send it to me via like internal messaging, and Dan
can too. Dan's on Slack.
Oh, okay. Well, but we might not be connected because like I'm on, you know, a smaller version of the internal Slack, but I sent Dan an email about how to send his files to me. So
cool.
Sick.
Thank you both. All right, Q&A. Let's take a look. We've got Mark Dell is back here, pointing out the irony of this segment, and then you can find me on Twitter. Yeah, absolutely. Jesus Lord.
Yep.
I will be brutally honest here. I have a hard time thinking about quitting Twitter. Not only because like I want to, is like a time and all of these things. The other thing is like Twitter is the platform on which I feel most like self-important. Where like your reaction, Sam.
I mean, I know exactly what you mean. You feel like you have like the most control and the most like you have the most people paying attention to you, maybe.
Yes, exactly. I
guess the biggest following.
Yes, exactly. Like I have that verified check that doesn't really mean anything. I have the most number of followers that on all of my accounts, out of all of my accounts, it is my Twitter following that is the largest. I feel like I've maybe put in time into the platform to sort of develop a voice and gain some credibility. I've thought long and hard about some of my tweets, and some of them never see the light of day. Like you know what I mean? Like I feel like I've put in work, and I think that's part of the reason I'm reluctant to give up, because it feels like, right? Like something I've worked hard to maintain. So that's me being brutally honest. I could just be like, yeah, I love to quit it.
I mean, I think there's something to that. Like, you know, at a certain point, like, you know, these are connections with other people. And it's like, it just feels weird to be like, oh, I'm going to quit this thing and I'm going to throw away all these connections with, people or contacts that, you care about.
Yes.
Which is the weird thing of just like, I think social media in general is because, back in the day, like you had friends and then the friends that live near you or like your relatives, that was it, right? Like you call someone up on the phone, but like, there was never this like constant contact or like vehicle for, tweeting out like, oh, hey, I made some cereal today and I spilled it all over myself. Whoops, lol.
Well, yeah, that's actually, I've been thinking about that a lot. Like, remember when Twitter was thought of as a micro-blogging platform?
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, you could just kind of like toss off whatever you wanted to say, and it didn't necessarily sync up with any kind of greater conversation on Twitter. I wasn't really on Twitter around that time, but I think that eventually Twitter, especially news Twitter, started all coalescing around the same thing, and that's how we got this concept of the discourse. If you're on Twitter, you know about the discourse. People just decide to like talk about, sometimes it's the news of the day, and sometimes it's a really inane thing that literally no one outside of anyone who has the Twitter brainworms, the brain sickness, really cares about, which is a problem. It's a problem on multiple levels.
The other thing that I like about Twitter is like parasocial relationships are kind of awkward, but Twitter is the only platform I have chosen to use to interact with people I don't necessarily know, but who might know me from my work. Maybe I respond to Instagram comments, but I don't do DMs. I don't do anything. So I only respond to people when it's a publicly visible platform. And Twitter is like the best place for that. And that's how we've, I think, developed a lot of like, like a so-called following, like the people who come and watch this, on YouTube, on TikTok. If you come and tweet at us after the show or during the show, we can actually get back to you on a platform that feels seen, right? So, and because it's so visible, I feel more protected because I don't feel like you're going to say dumb shit to me that you could say in my DMs. And, people behave better sometimes at least in my silos, in my echo chambers. So it's like,
and I
don't know if I want to give that up.
Other people would like come
Police.
and say like, yeah, hey, like you're being out of line.
Exactly. There's that. There's the idea that you have to be better behaved if you're leaving a publicly visible comment because other people might jump in. And there have been people who jump in on my threads being like, why are you being such an idiot to her or something like that? Like that's somehow part of why I feel safer responding to like, messages from unknowns on Twitter. But I don't know if that's going to change.
So we have a comment from Ruindig from earlier in the segment that said, I understand free speech, but I think that there should be a measure of locked or suspending accounts to prevent people from being physically or mentally harmed. That is absolutely true. I mean, we were having a very complicated conversation about what free speech actually means in the like, you're tweeting on a private company, even when it was a publicly traded company, you're tweeting on a company's platform. Free speech, like in the Bill of Rights, is different than free speech on a company's platform.
Right. As it is on in the amendment, it's like it applies to the government's ability to censor, citizens, not necessarily companies between, people who are using their services or whatever.
Yes, because like getting in the way of somebody's bottom line, if you are like bringing a bunch of users that do bad things onto the website, it's completely within the rights of the company to say, actually, no, you don't get to do this because you don't have the concept of free speech that exists in the like more, what's the word that I'm looking for? Idealistic legal terms that we have in like the American Bill of Rights.
I want to take a pause and say hi to our viewers on TikTok. If you're watching us on the TikTok, feel free to leave a question or a comment. We're, taking a segment break now to answer. Most of the questions we've been, fielding today have been from the YouTube chat, but, again, feel free to leave us a comment right down there. we're watching there too. We've got Mark Dell saying that the company also has the freedom to not let you talk there. Yeah, it's a business. It's
right. Like, other businesses, they can refuse the right of service to people who like walk into a random, bagel shop or, whatever.
Yeah. On the internet, oftentimes the freedom to talk smack is also the freedom to get banned. Just be aware of that.
Chris Angelo Perez mentions Dropout, We Crash, the Twitter movie is next. In this theoretical Twitter movie, who do you all think would play Elon Musk?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I ask them sometimes, yeah. I can't like a Christian, not Christian Bale.
I know he's way too old, but I really want to see Christopher Walken. Like I don't know who's a young Christopher Walken who could do it, but that'd be my pick.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I can't think of the right person for this role, right? Like it's like, well, I was thinking like Iron Man, what's his name? Or RDJ, but he's not the right, doesn't look the part at all.
I was thinking about like who would play Jack from Twitter, and at least like right now there's that guy with the shaved head from Euphoria that kind of looks like Jack. His name is Angus Cloud. He plays the drug dealer on Euphoria, but I don't know if he could do Jack in the same sort of way. I don't know.
Well, and from what I understand, that actor was not an actor before Euphoria. He was like an actual, I don't know if he was an actual drug dealer, but like they picked him off the streets.
Yes. He was working at a restaurant in like Bed-Stuy. No, not Bed-Stuy. He was working in a restaurant like outside of Barclays Center in Brooklyn. And somebody was like, you look like you would be a good TV drug dealer.
Which is like a weird compliment, but hey, that guy's got a great job now, so.
All right, we've got a comment on the TikTok that I wanted to just point out. Giovanni.glass says that they're happy to see how Elon will change the culture of Twitter, that they feel like the speed of innovation will increase with increased velocity. I want to say that there's a lot of people excited to see how Elon will, improve or change things at Twitter. He has a huge fan base that I don't know that we really addressed yet in this episode, so. We need, we talk about how Jack Dorsey was supportive of Elon, but the fact is that a lot of people on Twitter are huge Elon Musk fans. A lot of people, well, some people on TikTok clearly too. So for some reason, D-Man in the chat asked, was We Crashed any good? Previous episodes of the Engadget podcast will tell you. But I think this means it's time to move on to picks and working on.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Let's do it. So another heads up for viewers on TikTok, we're going to move into another recording session now for the audio podcast. So we won't be able to address your questions right now. We'll be back shortly. Okay, Ben, we good?
We're good.
So let's move on to what we're working on this week. Sam, tell me all about your workload.
There's a lot of laptops coming out. So I have the Razer Blade 15. I'm working on that review. They haven't changed much with the design, but new internals, new GPU, new CPU, always nice. And then Dell just announced that the XPS 13 Plus is on sale today, I believe. So we're looking to get that in shortly. Not sure who exactly is going to do in that review, but any change to the XPS 13, which has been like the best Windows laptop for a decade, is always going to be big news. And I also have Lenovo's flagship Yoga system. So, hopefully we'll be taking a look at that. And then, before we know it, Google I/O is going to be here, and that's going to be a whole nother thing. Yeah.
Yep. Sam, you're doing a lot, I'm just going to say. Thank you for doing so much hard work.
What are you working on in your wheelhouse?
Yeah, I mean, for me, we just published that Fitness Mirror hands-on. I am also working on the Android 13 beta. That should be up today, tomorrow, so you can check it out on Engadget.com or the YouTube channel. And then some secrets that I can't really talk about for a little bit. Also, earnings season. We're in the thick of it. I've got Apple's earnings later today to cover. I'm very depressed at the stock market.
We're not like a financial outlet, but I think it's like a lot of people are looking to the Apple earnings to be like, oh, if Apple like misses their predictions, like are we in a bear market now? I think a lot of people, and that does kind of affect like the pace of change and stuff. And it's like if a lot of the big FANG or manga or however you want to like label them companies like are just kind of having like an off earnings, that can affect what those companies release as far as like consumer products down the line.
No, if they have an off quarter, who knows how it'll impact their product line. So we're paying attention to that too. And then like Sam said, we've got Google I/O coming up. We've also got a flurry of activity around the week of May 10th, May 9th. We've got all kinds of summits. We've got all kinds of events. So I'm just pre-stressing out about all of that. But around Engadget, we've got other stories from our team that we want to highlight as per usual. Our editor-in-chief, Dana Wollman, just published her guide to the best wireless workout headphones that you can buy. So check it out. Dana is a marathoner. She was also like a running coach. Her advice I would take. Dan Cooper wrote about Spotify's earnings, which I kind of just talked about its earnings season. But Dan had like a really great take on it, which is that Spotify still grew despite the Joe Rogan boycotts and the closures in Russia. So what's Spotify doing right? I don't know. We've talked about Spotify on this show before. We're not going to give them too much more time. Steve Dent also reviewed the Panasonic Lumix GH6. For us, this is basically like a vlogging workhorse, he said. It doesn't have face detect autofocus still, which seems odd to me for a camera in 2022.
Panasonic has been a little slower to adopt face detection compared to some of the other companies, and it works out for them, but like you kind of wish it was there.
It doesn't really impact too much. I think for images, it's still, or was it for video or for images, it was still okay. But Steve gets into all of that nitty gritty. You can check out his review. All right, Sam, I see we were just talking a little bit about, what if Twitter saga here became a movie, right? But we've also seen a whole vein of like tech startup movies or shows recently. We got Wheat Crashed, we got The Dropout. I was watching Inventing Anna, which is not tech, but it is similar, like a based on real events sort of story. I've loved those shows, but what would you tell people to watch if they were trying to take a break from all of that?
Okay, so not tech startup related. I think I just finished The Foundation on Apple TV Plus. Like for me, sci-fi is like my main jam. Like I'm always on the lookout for new sci-fi stuff, and weird like I read a ton of sci-fi too, and for some reason the Foundation's trilogy is the one that I just never missed. I just kind of missed growing up, and so I was able to go into it without having any like preconceptions or prior knowledge, and I thought it was pretty good. Obviously, it's tough to adapt a series as big as Foundation, but I think they did a really good job. And I really liked Lee Pace as like the Emperor. I think he did an incredible job. And the actress who played Salvor Hardin was really, really good. And I'm not sure I've seen her in anything before. And I really liked her performance as well. But it's a very like heady thing, because you're talking about like, a trilogy that spans like hundreds of years and like has an emperor that has like a genetic dynasty, which is like just a really like crazy concept to think about.
I see like I've seen it on Apple TV Plus. I don't know if I haven't ever watched it. I don't know of the series, the novels as well, but what is this? This looks more like a fantasy series than it is hard sci-fi.
It's very sci-fi. There's a little bit of fantasy, but it's like basically the premise is that there is a empire that has been going on for thousands and thousands of years, and it's led by this genetic dynasty, which has one guy who has cloned himself. So it's 3 people, and there's like a day and a night and like a dusk or morning, day, and dusk versions of each person. So there's one person who's like a kid, there's one person who is like an adult, like midlife, and there's an older version, and they like come together to make this like joint empire, and they are in control. And then there's, you know, a new guy, and so the big conflict is that one guy kind of predicts that the empire is going to fall, and obviously the empire does not like this. And it kind of, and this is like, they haven't even dived into like the whole saga yet, but like they're kind of exploring, it's like how do you govern an empire that spans thousands of light years, thousands of years time wise. And it's just like, it's really, I kind of like that, you know, philosophical kind of thinking about it as it applies to science fiction. And
I might give it a watch. Dang.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. There was something else you wanted to share. It seemed like you were gonna, like, are you done with Foundation? Are you moving on to a new series?
Oh yes. So I just finished Foundation. That was great.
Yes.
You have too many surprises for me. And I think I'm trying to decide what I move on to next. And I think right now I kind of decided on Peacemaker. I've heard a lot of good things. I liked the Suicide Squad, the most recent Suicide Squad movie, and I actually think Peacemaker is a great role for John Cena, who has, like, you know, long kind of like been dancing around with his acting chops and has made a lot of cameos and other stuff and has been in movies before. But I think this role is like really perfectly suited to like his acting range and demeanor and all that. And, you know, I think it'll be good. So I haven't started it yet, but maybe this weekend.
It's out there. I don't know if it's raunchy is the right word, but I enjoyed it too. I'm sure you guys will too. For me, I have a lot of things I could talk about, but this weekend, I think, I finally watched A Quiet Place Part 2, which has been out, I think, for a while. I just finally got around to watching it. And it, as a sequel, I liked it a lot. It's, you know, in the first one, I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but one of the characters doesn't make it. They show up for a part of this and like sort of flashbacky stuff. But then, you know, I thought that without that character, this show would lose some of its heart, but it really doesn't. I think they've managed to move the story forward. As you know, those of you who are not familiar with the show, the original premise is that this, you know, the world has been invaded by these alien creatures that have heightened sense of hearing. And so now the whole world is just quiet. The protagonists of the story are a family with a child that has a hearing aid. And so they all have some form of understanding of sign language. And they're able to communicate with sign language as well. And it's just such a great premise, because like everything's quiet, every little bit of sound will like just scare you to death. And this show has just a lot more, the sequel has a lot more characters that move the story a lot forward. I like it. Cillian Murphy or Cillian Murphy, how do you pronounce it?
I think it's Cillian.
Yeah, I don't know, but Cillian's with a C. Murphy is in it too. He does a really great job. For the first half of the show, I was like, is he Benedict Cumberbatch? Like, what's going on here? But
well, then hold on. Hold on. Dude, those two people do not look any...
know. I realized this, but he's very bearded and has a cap on, like, for the first half of the show. So I like didn't look at the cast list before I started streaming. So I was like, who the hell? This is a familiar person. And yeah, no, it's Cillian Murphy. But this brings to mind, like, I don't know, one of the first horror movies that terrified me was Tremors. Sam, have you ever seen Tremors?
Okay. I didn't think you were going to go there. I love Tremors because it's like so a great B movie. I'm not like, I know you're like a huge horror film buff. I like that movie just because it's like weird and like kind of like low quality, but like I think the performances are really good. Like Kevin Bacon is actually crushes in that movie. And it's like the monsters in that movie are so silly, but like it's actually like kind of like a horror comedy to me. And
right.
Tremors is like one of my like favorite like all-time great cult hit like B movies. Fantastic.
I know it's surprising that I
recommend it to everybody. Yeah. Everyone go watch Tremors.
Everyone should watch Tremors. The reason I bring it up is because when I watched Tremors, I think I was a kid. I was like maybe 10, 11. I don't even know. Mm-hmm. But then I missed all of the like nuanced acting stuff, right? It was really the idea of the monster that like stayed with me. And so I think for like weeks I had the Jaws effect where like I couldn't walk on the ground unless like, I was like, oh no, they'll hear my footsteps.
Yeah. Playing Floor is Lava.
Exactly. Basically, floor is lava for my life after I watched Tremors. But A Quiet Place has that sort of sensation where you're like immersed in this world so much that it stays with you afterwards and you kind of want to remain silent. So anyway, if you're interested in that sort of environment or, you're feeling something a little less upbeat this weekend, I guess, you can check out A Quiet Place too. All right. I think we can do the outro, Ben. Was there anything else?
Nope, go to the outro.
Okay. And then we can do a Q&A after. All right. Well, that's it for this episode, everyone. Thank you as always for listening. Our theme music is by game composer Dale North. Our outro music is by our very own Terrence O'Brien. The podcast is produced by Ben Elman. You can find Sam online at
Sam Rutherford or obviously on Engadget.com.
Yeah, if you need to tell me all the reasons to get off of Twitter, I'm at Sherlinlo on Twitter. Email us your thoughts at podcast@engadget.com. Leave us a review, please, on iTunes and subscribe on your podcast catcher of choice.
Okay.
I think we can do a quick Q&A. Giovanni.glass on the TikTok stream of this said that AQP2 is amazing on a surround sound system because it's such a sound-driven movie. Absolutely. I don't have a good sound system, so I imagine with a better sound system than mine, you'd get even more out of that movie.
I'm just laughing in the YouTube chat. Mark Dell was like, he's quoting, well, not quoting, he's pretending to be you. He has a beard. It must be Benedict Cumberbatch. Which, is also incredibly funny to me because up until Doctor Strange, I don't think Benedict Cumberbatch had a beard in
he was
almost all of his roles.
Not having a beard.
Yeah, that's why I'm like maybe he grew a beard for this role. But D-Man also says Benedict Cumberbatch. Is there anything he can't do? Be Cillian Murphy.
Yeah,
he can't be the Peaky Blinders.
Oh no. Well, that's my B, y'all. I assume it was hard. Dude's half his face was covered, but then some parts of it the cap went off and I was like, no, that's not Cumberbatch. Still don't know who it was until I looked at the cast list.
Speaking of D-Man, D-Man said a bit earlier during the recording that they still haven't had the Starlight or Bite like new flavors of Coke. You know what? You can just go and skip it. I tried the Starlight Coke a little while ago. It was not good.
I had it too.
Cotton candy.
Yes, it's cotton candy, and so I tried it, and it's like cotton candy with like a little bit of like strawberry or something in it, and then it was so weird. I went and bought another one, which was probably a dumb idea. And I'm like, the second time I
drank the whole thing. You drank 2 whole Starlights. Then.
Oh yeah, and then so I bought a second one, and I thought there's like a hint of like mint in there. And
it was syrupy. It needs to be less.
Okay, I did buy the 0 version because I can't drink a 20-ounce full sugar Coke without just like wanting to collapse.
Yeah, I don't drink Coke at all, but
Sherlyn has this very strange hatred of anything that's carbonated, which is I still don't entirely get, but hey, everyone's got their own tastes.
I don't know why it doesn't sit well. Like I enjoy Coke every now and then. It just is not my go-to drink. I'm much more like a milkshake or like a coffee drinks type of person.
I think that one of the funniest things is like I can't remember when this was a while back. You like shocked me by saying I really like drinking flat soda. So you said that. So sometimes you like get a soda, open it up, shake it, make it intentionally flat, and then drink it, which is like
you know what else I love? Soul. You know what else I love? I love melted ice cream. I drink it like soup. But Julio,
melted ice cream is basically a milkshake, so I kind of get that.
Yeah, exactly. Julio from our live stream team agrees.
Julio, no, I can't. No, we can't encourage this
Flat
behavior.
soda team. Flat soda team.
You know, drinking straight like melted ice cream is how who was it from Always Sunny who gained a bunch of weight and then lost a bunch of weight? The guy who plays Mac.
Mm-hmm.
That's how he gained.
Oh, Rob McElhenney.
Yeah, Rob McElhenney just drank like 2 or 3 pints of ice cream for lunch as he was trying to gain weight to be thick Mac.
Buff.
That'll do it.
No, not buff. No.
Just Big Mac. Okay.
Yeah, just thick Mac.
He's done a lot of stuff to his physique in general, so.
But the good thing is that he's also been very open with it. Someone was like, "Oh, like how did you like lose all that weight?" He's like, "I'm rich and I have a personal chef and a personal trainer."
Exactly.
Like I'm not going to BS you guys and say like you can do it too in just 9 months.
The Engadget account on TikTok says that's facts. Melted ice cream is good. Yes.
The chat. I mentioned in chat. There's also a pixel flavored Coke, which I haven't
seen.
What does
that even mean?
I don't know. I haven't seen it in stores yet. I've been trying to find it, but I haven't had any luck so far.
Y'all, I'm very hungry right now. This is not good for my health.
I don't care to drink anything called pixel flavor.
Yeah,
Pixels should stay. Metaverse should stay out of my drinks.
D-Man gave a shout out about sending Engadget tons of top or best for. Send Engadget with tons of top/best of lists of media like some other websites. I suspect you're saying to just go see Engadget a lot, keep visiting our site so that our traffic goes up. I am obviously not for unethical means of getting our traffic up, but if you tell people to read our reviews, if you like our work and you just spread word of mouth, that would be genuinely helpful.
Yes. So dude named Charlie says, "Oh yeah, saw the same interview with Rob McElhenney. Appreciate that he was very straight up. Excuse me.
Yeah.
He was very straight up about the situation of how he gained weight and then lost weight. Yeah.
Is there such a thing called MuskCon, or is Mark Dell playing?
No,
no, but there probably will be soon.
Yeah, we're literally just we made some jokes about what would the name of an Elon Musk fan be, because I guess Tesla fan is the main name or something. There's no one who
Muskit is the other.
Musk stands, I guess, is kind of colloquial for all of his fans.
Muskhead, but it sounds like musket.
Yeah, sometimes I call him elongated muskrat. But that's not a really good name for the elongated muskrats, the people who are fans of Elon Musk. No, that's not going to work.
The share hammer has activated. Don't worry. We, very strange spam sometimes. Everyone else, I think we're just talking about food now. I think we're all hungry. It's about lunchtime. I'm going to do a quick roll call shout out. Thanks to the people in our YouTube chat for joining us today. We've got Declan Flynn, D-Man, Mark Dell, welcome back. Dude named Charlie, Jiming Zhong. We have Daniel Gray, Chris Angelo Perez. Earlier today, we also had... I forget names. Sebastian was your buddy 305 Love, and Bryant Mitchell asked questions. Thank you for joining us. And on TikTok, I think today most of our comments came from Giovanni.glass and at Engadget. If you have a TikTok account and you want to show us some love, you can follow us on TikTok as well. That'll be really nice. And I think we're done for this time around. Join us again next week, Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern thereabouts on YouTube and on TikTok. So...
Yes.
Ben, you want to take us away?
Yeah, a couple other quick shout outs. Declan Flynn says Killian is an Irish name, just like Saoirse Ronan. Oh, well, thank you for the context, Declan Flynn. And also it makes a lot of sense that someone named Declan Flynn would be educating us about Irish names. And then there was one other person. Daniel Gray said Pixel Coke comes with bugs. That's just another reason for me not to even try to drink it. But thank you for all of these fun comments. Thanks for watching. This video comes to you via our video team, which is mostly day to day, week to week, Julio Barrientos and Luke Brooks. If you've stuck around this long, you know that we live in a world of algorithms better than the average person. You know how much it's worth giving us 5 stars on iTunes or your favorite podcast platform of choice. It helps us find other people and other people find us. So give us a shout out, tell a couple friends about us, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.